tears for the tear god, salt for the salt throne, and gas the leaf tribe.
It seems that the Ethics Commissioner has found Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, aka Skippy, in violation of the Conflict of Interest Act. Again!
Come and hear the song of Slaanesh! Hear this dirge and despair!
Even the mainstream public media, CBC, despite their $1.5 billion bribe, couldn't avoid covering this. But I can still only give them quarter marks for this headline. I take responsibility, Trudeau says in wake of damning report on SNC-Lavalin ethics violation. They only half-ass condemn his actions by putting the word damning report, in the second half of their headline, while they continue to half-ass cheerlead for him by leading with, I take responsibility, Trudeau says. What Trudeau says doesn't fucking matter here. That's not the story. The story is the Ethics Commissioner and the damning report that says that for the second time, Trudeau is in violation of the Conflict of Interest Act. So, half marks for a half-ass condemnation times half marks for a half-ass cheerlead equals 1/4 marks. On the other hand, that's still a lot more than the 0 I've been giving them across the board lately. So for those who aren't familiar, the first ethics violation, the first Conflict of Interest Act violation, was when Justin Trudeau accepted a all-expenses-paid vacation from a wealthy and powerful lobbyist known as the Aga Khan to his private island in the Bahamas. Anyone with half a brain knows that even if this is a family friend, regardless of whether or not you've set foot in the same room with the man in the past 30 years, that's bad optics at the very least. And more recently, the pressure that the PMO put on, at the time, Minister of Justice Jody Wilson-Raybould to tell the prosecutors to go with a deferred prosecution agreement against SNC-Lavalin, who had been accused, and for which there is much evidence, of bribery of Libyan officials from, what, 2000, 2001, until 2011, maybe later, something like $50 million worth of bribes. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong here, it was when they tried to write off as entertainment and $1.4 million spent on basically hookers and blow for a Libyan prince in Canada. Now, don't get me wrong, I've got nothing against hookers and blow. Okay, but in terms of a write-off and having the government defend your ability to write off hookers and blow, yeah, I can see there's a huge problem there, especially considering that SNC-Lavalin was apparently not only a contributor to the Liberal Party, but one of their biggest contributors and a big deal in Quebec, Trudeau's power base. This is, the Ethics Commissioner has found you in violation of the Conflict of Interest Act. That sounds terrible, very scary. You should be very concerned about the penalties. Yes, absolutely. This is just ridiculous. My God. Every public office holder, administrative monetary penalties. Who contravenes one of the following provisions commits a violation and is liable to an administrative monetary penalty not exceeding $500? $500? This man tried to say that he's raising taxes on the wealthiest Canadians while he actually raised taxes on small business owners. And he exists not only in the 1%, not in the 1/10 of 1%, in the 1/100th of 1%. This man wipes his ass with $500. Do you think he gives a shit? What the $500? He could violate the Conflicts of Interest Act every day of his life and not even feel it. The man's a weasel, and it shows clearly in the mug. We recognize the way that this happened shouldn't have happened. I take responsibility for the mistakes that I made, Trudeau said. Where I disagree with the commissioner is where he says that any contact with the Attorney General on this issue was improper. I take responsibility. Where I disagree is that I did anything wrong. This is not an adult. Adults don't do this. When you say you take responsibility for something, you don't just say it and expect people to forgive you. You have to do something meaningful to rectify it, and the only thing the Prime Minister can do after his second violation of the Conflict of Interest Act is resign. That's the only meaningful action you can take. And yes, it would be incredibly damning leading up to an election, but if you had any faith in your party, you would do it still. Okay? This is ridiculous. This is so childish. This is what my country is. This is... Oh, my God. I think one of my biggest problems with all of this is the response from many liberal supporters and Trudeau supporters who have basically come out and said, it's fine. This is totally forgivable because it's better than the alternative. No, it isn't. This is horrendously wrong. This is not forgivable. This is corruption of the highest order from what amounts to a man-child, a spoiled dynasty brat who fancies himself king, that can just throw $500 at the government anytime he wants to break the fucking rules. This is not okay. This is not okay. His ministers, his cabinet, his MPs, they've just been slinging slurs, saying, oh, you're Neanderthals and you're white nationalists and misogynists and God, everything under the sun, racist, Nazi, while they go ahead and break all the rules in their own favor and try to take away the rights of people to say and hear things. It's fucking disgusting, and you can't be supporting them anymore. You can't. Right? Yeah, recording this has made me incredibly drunk. This is, this guy's gotta go. Relevant links to shit I said in the description. Maybe. I'm Urban Twin. Like, subscribe, or don't. It's a free country. At least it used to be.
They would silence us?